Hey, so I'm going to talk about a pretty specific affinity space, which is a deck building game called Ascension. The base game, Ascension Chronicle of the Godslayer, was released in 2010. It's got a digital version on 2011. I play it on my phone almost constantly. Since 2011, 13 additional sets or expansions have been released, which can be played by themselves or in combinations with other sets. And I won't bore you with the full tutorial of the game. Briefly, 2 to 4 players all start with the same like basic deck of bad cards, and they use those bad cards to buy better cards and kill monsters for rewards from the center row, and that gets you points to win the game. And when your deck is empty, you shuffle up your discard pile, and then now you got a better deck. That's why they call it a deck building game, because your deck of cards gets progressively better. Um, the community has grown with the game. It fits the criteria of what James Gee would define as an affinity space. I will be honest. I went through all 11 points, and this timed out much too long. So I'm going to only go over the first few and some of the more prevalent ones. It does definitely relate to all of his 11 points. Number one, shared passion is primary. Ascension players meet mostly on a Discord channel dedicated to the game, and this shared passion keeps the conversations focused on the game, about strategy, organized competition, etc. We all have the same thing in common in this community, in that we're talking about Ascension, and usually off-topic conversation is kept to a minimum. Newbies, masters, and everyone in between share the space. This is definitely the case. The Discord channel has 411 members, which doesn't sound like a lot, but they do range from longtime veterans, people who've been playing ever since the game came out, to people who discovered the game last week. Everyone's welcome, except for this one guy he used to pop up and complain about the same things. He would invent his own like crazy cards for the game that didn't work. He would insult people, and he left on his own. He's gone. They didn't even have to kick him out. He just left. So everybody's good, and they all exist together in the same space. There are multiple portals, and some portals are generators. Discord is the primary hub of interaction. A few avenues in the community exist, and Discord isn't the only way. Discord isn't the only way that Ascension fans interact. Obviously, they've got a chat function in the game. There's a Facebook, there's a subreddit, there's Instagram pages, there's Board Game Geek. There's even a site that allows people to print their own cards, which is another entryway into the community, right? 4, content organization is transformed by interactional organization. Through the Discord channel, there's a number of organized competitions. There's an official monthly tournament. It's sponsored by the company who makes the game. And if you do well there, you earn like store credit to buy more of the game. But there's all sorts of new other ways that we've decided to interact with each other. There's a boss pile, which is kind of like a king of the hill situation. And what you're looking at here is like a bot. So we've actually sort of automated the way that you report your wins and losses, and it kind of like runs up the system. So Annie's at the top of the list right now, and then I fell down way to the bottom a long time ago. That's okay. But even like the newer players, they're bringing in their own versions, their own different kinds of tournaments modeled after things that they like Premier League soccer or the Davis Cup in tennis. And we're all doing that kind of stuff, but in Ascension. So we are transforming the way that we play the game because we're with each other. Both intensive and extensive knowledge are encouraged, with each set having like 200 cards apiece. There's a pretty much infinite number of scenarios and combinations. And this is part of what makes Ascension so exciting. But it's also a deep source of the conversation. Understanding the myriad ways in which the cards can interact with each other separates the consistently excellent players from everybody else. It also provides a wealth of conversations. What would you do in this situation? Has anybody tested what happens when this card shows up in this context? I'm personally like the tester guy. So when someone shows up a question, I hop on my phone game and I just test it out until I sort of try to recreate that very specific scenario until I can replicate it and report back to the community. It's a lot of fun. I'm going to skip a few of these because I found myself repeating myself a lot, and I'm trying to keep this a little shorter. But 10, I think this is where it shines the most. There are a lot of different routes to status. It's not just an online game, so the Discord isn't the only place where people interact. It's a physical card game, right? And there's lots of different ways that you can come to this. Some people do have status through the online game. They're consistent winners. They're awesome players, or they've taken a leadership role or something like that. But as you can see on the screen, some people cosplay as the characters. What you see on the right is me shaking hands with Glover. Glover is a three-time world champion at Ascension. He's won thousands of dollars. This is at an annual convention in Indianapolis that got canceled this year. So I don't know what they're going to do to declare a winner, but this is me losing that championship match to my friend Glover, who lives in Alabama. I've never, I have met him in person, obviously, but he's not a personal friend. He's my Ascension friend, right? This is me. I'm in the game. I won a tournament quite a few years ago, and they made a card out of me. So there are lots of different ways to become an involved member of this community. There's lots of different ways to participate. There's lots of different ways to get engaged in it. So that's what makes me think it meets the criteria of an affinity space.